We all know that if somebody changed jobs, they're going to be more likely to be looking at new solutions. Like people join companies in senior leadership positions to make changes and improvements. So they're typically the best people to reach out to. However, a lot of people now are sending emails like "Congrats on the new role," and what blah blah blah. And it's getting overused, right? And so one like little way you can stand out is, let's say again, I'm targeting VPs of sales. You can also you or a thing that I like to do is find people that whoops uh, uh past job title, sorry, VP of sales. Uh, sorry, can't type. What I'm trying to do here is find people that haven't been a VP of sales before, and now they're stepping into a VP role for the first time, right?
Okay.
So because you can, so I guess the feature, John, to be more specific, is the exclusion feature.
I
So
didn't notice
almost all
that.
the keywords, yeah, you can exclude them. So now I know these people are stepping into a VP role for the first time. And so my messaging could be a little bit more specific. Hey, I saw you joined, I saw you made the jump from director to VP for the first time. Like, big move, congrats. It's a little bit more genuine. And then talk specifically about the challenges of VP sales, because it's going to be a little bit more relevant to them because they're new to that role. I remember when I stepped into director for the first time, it's new challenges. You have to think bigger. There's new things. So one
And that's
approach.
also something that you could even potentially like go back to that HubSpot example where you could find something like a resource that's valuable to first-time VPs of sales, right? And say, hey, congrats, this is an ebook right here that talks about what to expect as a VP of sales. Thought you might get some value out of that, right?
100%. Yeah. It's just another more specific example of the classic job changers to sound more relevant.
Yeah, because that's the thing. That's why if you say, what I always said is the job change is important, but a lot of people, I think it's more important that if that person has experience with your stuff, right? Because a lot of people don't make new investments in technology because they don't want to take that risk, but they'll bring in who they know. And that's why
Yep.
VPs of sales who used to work at Salesforce, like if your title now is VP of sales and you used to work at Salesforce, to me, that's gold, right? Because I'm the benefactor of it. A lot of people just bring me in just because they know who I am and they know I'm going to bring value. There's no risk involved, if you will. Whereas a new vendor, there's risk involved in that stuff. So do you have the different lists for people who used to work at your existing customers versus people who just move into new roles?
Yeah. So what I don't have right now is that list because I just left my previous company. But essentially, what we would do is the same exact thing, and we would just type in. So, like, let's say Nike was our previous customer, et cetera, and we would save that search for people that used to work at our companies. There's a really like simple way to do this is if you go into your CRM and let's say filter for like your biggest customers or your top customers, maybe you have 100, you can scrape that list and then you can do it one by one, but you can actually use ChatGPT to put all of those accounts into a Boolean search that you can then paste right into past company filter.
Oh, no way.
Um, yeah, it just saves a ton of time. I can show you the example of that. It's kind of like getting kind of
Yeah.
geeky or
No,
nerdy
I
into
want to
it.
see that, man. Geek out, absolutely. Because this is the type of shit that I'm trying to figure out as we go, like the little shortcuts and stuff like that. Because to your point, I tell people 10, right? Like go get your top 10 customers and go
Yeah.
in there and say, hey, these are your past companies. So if they used to work at one of your existing customers, top 10, you're in, and then find the title, VP of sales or VP of whatever. But if you got 50, 100 that are legitimate, like real good ones, then it's like, okay, I got to go find every single one of these stupid companies. So.
Yeah. So like the way I would do it is if I go into ChatGPT, um, so I just need to find a random list of companies. So here I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's just imagine that I'd gone into my CRM, pulled a list of our top 100 companies, right? And there's a lot of other use cases for this to make things easier in Sales Navigator. But essentially, what I would do is say, please take this list of companies and turn them into a Boolean search, for example. And I always like to give ChatGPT examples so that you can have a more predictable output. It should look like this: company name or company name or company name. Here is the list of companies. Now, I don't have the list of companies, but let's just say Nike, XYZ. And then what it's going to do is turn that into a Boolean search for me. And if you did that with 100, it's obviously going to save you a ton of time. And now you can paste that into, your past company search. I don't know if blah or XYZ is a company, but
No,
you get the point. So there's a lot of use cases for that specific one.
I love that one. What about competition? How do you follow, or what do you look for as it relates to competition?
Yeah, there's so speaking high level, my strategy has always been, especially in SaaS when it's super crowded, and in most markets you step into, people are already using a competitive solution of some sort. Like I was in sales engagement, everyone's using a cadence software of some kind. So you have to understand like market sophistication and where people are typically at. And in my case, it was, I can't just come in talking about a sales engagement tool because everyone's already using one. Mm-hmm. So in terms of like, to your point, John, about competition, we would use like the technologies filter a lot, which is in the account section. And we would find people who are specifically using, like for example, HubSpot Sales Hub. Whoops. Sales Hub. Just saw it. There it is. That's their version of the sales engagement tool, for example. And I don't know if you guys have ever used HubSpot Sales Hub, but it's very basic, very rudimentary. And so that was one that we relied on a lot because we had strong value propositions against them. So we would use the technographic data. I did a play when I was at PandaDoc selling e-signature software, people who used to work for DocuSign, because there was tons of them.
Yep.
And I just did like a corny icebreaker, like I can't even remember specifically what it was, but it was something I tried in my SDR days that actually got some meetings out of it. And it was something like, hey, saw you're no longer at DocuSign. I guess we're not enemies anymore. Something like that. But it got people to notice and respond. And they took a look, right? I mean, some people are diehards for the companies that they worked for forever, and they're always going to continue to implement DocuSign. But a lot of people were open to checking it out. And so it was the same thing. We went to past company and we would say, DocuSign, and then target those folks.
Nice. Okay. And that would be, again, a separate list that you would have a separate cadence for, versus the same list without that filter. You would save it as a different name of a.
Exactly. So then we would go in. I'm not even seeing the save search option right now. I think my Zoom bar is covering it. But anyways, yeah, to your point, we'd save it and go straight from there. Oh, there we go.
I can see it next to the search.